Hello everyone, it's GromitFan01 here, and welcome to my cracking video. Villains in animated films have always been one of the key points in telling a good story. And in the Aardman universe, there have been loads of villains over the years. Whether they're evil or just very funny, they are certainly very memorable. This video was suggested by Andrew Deacon, so I'd like to thank him for suggesting this top 10 list. So, enough said, sit back and enjoy my top 10 list of my favourite Aardman villains. Number 10. The Toad. In Flushed Away, the studio's first CGI film, we were introduced to many villains such as Le Frog and Spike and Whitey, but the main antagonist in the film was the Toad, voiced by Ian McKellen. This character makes me laugh every time I watch him. Not just because of his hilarious personality and design, but also the voice that Ian McKellen did so well for the character. It gave him that energy that the character has, not to mention the comedy he brought through the character. A villain you can't help but laugh at. Number 9. The Naughty Pigs. These little rascals are from the television series of Shaun the Sheep. Even though they are not proper villains in the series, they do cause trouble for Shaun and his pals. Every time these characters are on the screen, I always laugh at them because they are so funny. They are the ones we love to hate. I love the noises they make too. It's just so hilarious. It's not just the humour that I love about these characters, it's also the hard work that goes into animating them too. Plasticine is a very hard and time-consuming process because it takes the animator to sculpt the pigs into the right shape. But the hard work does pay off in the end when bringing these little troublemakers to life. Number 8. Victor Quartermaine. This pompous and arrogant hunter has only one goal: to win the affections of Lady Tottington and keep her money and Tottington Hall. A rather selfish character who thinks a lot about himself is another reason why he's on this list. The pompous attitude that Victor has is what I love about his character. His comedic side to the character was what I feel shaped his character into what it seems first to be rather bland to then be a rather funny and interesting character. A character that deserves a place in this list. Number 7. Lord Neath. The self-important, pompous villain from Aardman's latest movie, Early Man. Lord Neath is a villain who I feel shares some of the similarities to Victor. They are both pompous, they both want money, and the fact that their character designs are both similar to each other. Also, Tom Hiddleston does an amazing job of voicing him, especially since he does a French accent. Even though he may not be the most threatening villain in the Aardman series, he is certainly one of the funniest. If I'm going to be honest, I feel that he's even funnier than Victor. Victor was funny too, but he can have a dark side to him. Whereas Lord Neath just seems to be more comedic, just like the Toad. But whether you like him or not, Lord Neath is one of my favourite Aardman villains and one of my favourite characters in Early Man. Number 6. Pitt Lee. If there is any true nemesis in the Shaun the Sheep TV series, then it would have to be Pitt Lee the farm cat. The fluffy rascal who always is trying to show the farmer what the sheep really get up to behind his back. Even though he appeared in 2 episodes in Series 1 and was one of the main supporting characters in Series 2, Pitt Lee proved to be popular for the fans of the show. I would love it if Pitt Lee returned to the show because he's just a very interesting character, especially when he causes mischief. He's also a rather selfish character too, which is another reason why he's a great villain for the show. A villain I would love to see make a comeback. Number 5. Mr. Tweedy. Mr. Tweedy is from Aardman's first feature film, Chicken Run. He is the one that always suspects that the chickens are up to something when they're trying to escape. Although sometimes he was a bit nervous with Mrs. Tweedy at times, it's the nervousness of his character that you can't help but feel sorry for. But when he's with the chickens, he does show his evil side too. He also had some of the best lines in the film as well, like the chickens go in, pies come out joke. I do hope we see him again in the Chicken Run sequel, although that seems highly unlikely. So yes, Mr. Tweedy is my favourite villain from Chicken Run. Number 4. Arnold Hugh, the villain from Stage Fright. Mr. Hugh is a selfish actor that always wants the attention and credit to himself. His selfish and menacing attitude is what makes him scary. Mr. Hugh used to scare me a little bit when I was younger, but as the years went by, I have grown to love his character as well as all of the other Aardman characters too. His design kind of reminds me of the farmer from Shaun the Sheep, especially the face and the glasses. I loved how at the end of the film he got his comeuppance. It was tense and spooky at the same time. A great villain who got a great comeuppance. Number 3. Feathers McGraw. Feathers McGraw has been in quite a lot of adventures with Wallace and Gromit. Apart from the long trousers, he has been seen in the duo's first video game called Project Zoo. He would get countless mentions and references in the shorts and also in the feature film, and has also starred in some of the comics too. Feathers is the ultimate Wallace and Gromit villain in my opinion. His non-facial expressions, apart from his beady eyes, do give his character a certain edge to him. Every time he is on screen, the atmosphere he gives in each scene he's in does make it seem rather spooky and tense. His great screen presence does also sum up his character as a whole really well. The best and most sinister villain in Wallace and Gromit. Number 2. Preston. Preston is my favourite villain from Wallace and Gromit. As you can probably tell since he has featured it so many times in my Wallace and Gromit animations, he is to me a great villain because of how evil he is. What made his character evil was because of his sheep rusting schemes and framing Gromit for the crime. But it was also his terrifying robot form that made him more evil and more menacing than ever before. Also, like some of the other villains, he is rather selfish and quite hungry for power. His strength also makes him more powerful too. He is my favourite Wallace and Gromit villain and still is. And my number 1 favourite Aardman villain is... Trumper. This animal containment officer, who was an obstacle that the sheep encounter in Shaun the Sheep the movie, is not just my favourite villain from the Shaun the Sheep universe, but also my favourite Aardman villain of all time. His design and the way the animators performed the puppet is what really made his character more villainous in my opinion. His voice by Omid Jalili is so funny and yet suited the character very well. Even though he didn't say any words, his body language, mouth shapes and facial expressions can make you understand his motives and what he's feeling and saying. But one of the main reasons why I love Trumper is his motivation on wanting to capture Shaun and his flock. It's so simple that it drives the story on in the film. I really do hope that Trumper makes a comeback in Shaun the Sheep, as I feel he is the best and ultimate villain in the series, as well as my favourite Aardman villain of all time. So that's it for my top 10 list of my favourite Aardman villains. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, then please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm GromitFan01, and I hope you enjoyed the video.